bringing you your favorite new MCs. It's Dormville.
You could count on me, long as I'm near the pill. Off the Richter scale, shit, I got my weight up. Let me give you the mail. How I found my way up. How I make it look easy. That shit like a layup. Then my bitch's wifey, and she wear no makeup.
Phil, I'm your host, Locking the Key, with my co-host,
Backstage panel.
and we're sitting down with rapper ARTZ. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm chilling. Thank you guys for having me again.
Absolutely, bro. For those of you who don't know, ARTZ is from the grimy streets of Brooklyn, New York. Motherfucker is a director, rapper, curator, and self-proclaimed reject.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm from East New York, Brooklyn, to be specific, by way of Queens. I went to school in Queens my whole life as I was growing up in Brooklyn. So, shouts to both boroughs for making me who I am. And yes, rapper, writer first, musician. Then in the last 6 years, I've been curating mixed media art events. And in the last 2 years, I've been directing and editing my own visuals, for the most part. But yeah.
Nigga just said, I'm in my bag, so fuck you.
Funny, getting your bag, yeah.
Yo, just kind of like off jump, one of my first questions for you was like, what drew you to like the concept of being a reject and like becoming the self-proclaimed reject and like using that term?
So Reject Dreams started honestly when you ever heard of like attention deficit?
Yeah.
You're there, but you're not really there. I used to always feel that way when I was in like back of the classroom or when I'm just sitting in school. Like I would be learning and I would be trying to get knowledge and education and shit like that. But there was a point where it's like as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking beyond like my reality. I'm thinking like, damn, like this classroom, what they're offering me as far as education and knowledge, it can't be the only thing that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would daydream. I would think about what I wanted to do with my life. I would think about my journey thus far. I would think about the visions I had, even if they weren't actually tangible and physical in the flesh and in the reality in that moment. I would just be daydreaming about the stuff that I think would, I wanted to achieve later on in my life and manifest. So, from coming from like that whole misunderstood place, I decided to coin myself as a reject dreamer. Taking people's rejection or taking the rejection you face and using that as fuel to overcome adversity and make your dreams come true. And I feel like every great person or every person, to be honest with you, I feel like every person in the world is a reject in some sort of way, whether they want to go by that stigma or, coin themselves that or not. But I feel like great people face rejection, and that's how they usually, overcome obstacles.
Right.
But like that for me, that's like always like it's always a thing that I can sit there and humble myself immediately because I know where I came from, the struggles I've been through, and everything I had to face to get even here to still be alive to manifest my dreams. You know what I'm saying? To wake up with the will to even grind.
Yo, at what point did you I guess what age or what point in your life did you really come to the fruition and conclusion that you're like, like this is who I am. This is like I no longer need to fit in with the mainstream. Like I want to be a reject.
I would say around at 17 years old, probably. In that moment, I really decided that I was gonna pursue that. I was gonna give my life up to music and really pursue my dreams because I got shot when I was 17 in the right side of my face. It was a stray bullet, wrong time, wrong place. And in that moment, while I was sitting in the hospital that night, they don't usually let your family members actually stay with you overnight when you get shot. And I kind of told myself, I was like, I've been recording since I was about 15. But I told myself like, yo, you almost died. Like I have a bullet that's still in my nasal cavity. It's still in my face. And it was just like, it was one of those surreal moments where I told myself like, yo, you could not be here right now. So what are you doing to maximize your potential and take your capabilities and bring them to that next level? And I had to be real with myself at the time. I was only a kid still, but I wasn't investing every single thing into music. I, R.I.P. Kobe. I didn't have the Mamba mentality yet. You know, to wake up every day and be focused on one thing. And when that happened, it kind of shifted me into a different gear where it was like, yo, you know, every day you're gonna wake up and go out and get it. You're gonna make nothing into something. You're gonna push harder and harder and harder, step by step. You're gonna make these dreams come true.
What were some of the steps that you took to take that experience of getting shot and transform it into something positive, into, like you said, the Mamba mentality?
Um, I'm a person that believes in work ethic over talent. To be honest, I feel like every talent starts off very innocent, very vulnerable, very premature in a lot of ways, and I feel like your work ethic and the way you build those muscles is by constantly being a workhorse, and that's something that I pride myself on. Like the minute after I got shot, I decided to leave my home, live by myself, independently. I decided to drift off and go to college and do that experience. Um, in a community college where I spent a few of the semesters. I immediately started auditioning for things, did open mics, uh, started jumping in the studio more than ever. I was recording since I was 15, but, paying for my own studio time, to work on my craft and to better my sound and develop myself. Um, I, I auditioned for the Apollo, um, you know, different things like that. Just because I said to myself, like, if I do a combination of these things, it's going to, God and the powers to be is going to point me in the right direction. So I would say, like, just working hard, like work ethic, man. That was really the thing that drove me. And little by little, I started to see things develop. And a lot of the kids in college is waiting to graduate in order to then get an opportunity with music. And I'm like, nah, I got to go, grab the bull by his horns and
Yeah.
just, like, and do it that way.
Yeah, when you were in school, were you going to school for music or was it for like a business degree or something?
I went to school for music engineering. I dropped out though, after like 3 semesters. But when I got shot, I born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn. Like I said, went to school in Queens, but I lived in Pennsylvania for 2 years, in Allentown. And my mom wanted to buy a property out there. New York is expensive, so she went to go do that, and that's when I got shot. So when I got shot, right before I was finishing high school, I moved. I got my degree, and I moved out of Pennsylvania, and I went back to New York. So college was Queensborough Community College. I kind of honestly, it's ironic enough, like I went there for music engineering, but I really went there to network with people.
Right.
You know, like I've learned some stuff, but actually my producer and engineer now was somebody I sat next to in one of my classes. So when I dropped out, me and him relinked like a year or two after that, and it's been history ever since. Me and him been working for over a decade now. Him and my other partner Renaissance, who I met in a different way, but it just goes to show you like sometimes you're put in the right place for the right reasons that you might not see at that exact moment. And so pretty much I didn't learn shit about engineering in school. it took me to meet my guy, to then be in the studio often enough on days when he wasn't there, and me to get my hands dirty to even learn what I know now about engineering, how to track myself, how to record.
Do you think you'd ever go back to school for like a different type of degree, like something that is like business or something that would help you in the music industry rather than like for specifically music?
Yeah, I could see myself doing a Diddy or a Lil Wayne later on. You know what I'm saying? When the success and the fortune is there, and I'd be like, yo, I want to go back to give him, officially be called the doctor for some shit. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. A lot of people say that I'm, a natural motivational speaker, so maybe I'll get into philanthropy or some shit. I could definitely see that.
You were talking about how like you just have like that grinding mentality, how you always have to like keep going. Is that like the inspiration for the no sleep 25/8 mentality?
Definitely. Yep. 25 hours in a day, 8 days a week. Going that extra step, that extra hour, that extra day. Everything in that project speaks to the soundtrack of the hustle. When you listen to the interludes, it's a gentleman we interviewed named Hustle Man,
Yeah.
and he was kind of like, how they say, you know, God provides people to deliver messages sometimes. He was somebody that delivered that message, and in a lot of ways, I am Hustle Man, and he is me. Like, people live, I think, vicariously through each other. And we recorded that interview like 8 years ago. We put that project out in July, so it's funny how like even that wound up being useful for something later on in my life. But yeah, definitely 25A.
Yo, whenever you like were putting the project together, was like, oh shit, like I have this like this audio that's just kind of been sitting here for a couple of years, or was it like you found it
Yep.
on accident?
No, it was something that we was having a mixing session for the last couple records, and I was telling Ty, my producer, like I'm like we smoking, and I'm like, yo, bro, like what if we use the Hustle Man interview? And he was like, yo, that shit is it's a little long, but I'm like, what if you chopped it up, And he chopped it up and sauced it, and it was just like, yeah, that's fire.
Yo, who are some of those people that you've connected with that have just like really changed the way that you work, or like people that have like completely impacted your life in like such a drastic way that you're like, I don't know who I would be had I not met these people?
Hmm, that's a really good question, man. To be honest with you, I got to start off with family and like my close teammates. Honestly, like people like my mother, father, grandmother. You know, just like brothers, sisters, cousins. Because those were that was like my first support system. And then after that, my producers and business partners, Ty and Renaissance. And then on a major level, anybody outside of like my circle. I would say Emily Sande. When I met her, I was a young kid working at the Apple store, and she's a Billboard #1
Mm-hmm.
artist from the UK, signed to Hove, and she like welcomed me in with open arms, literally from hearing my music on iPod headphones in the middle of the Apple store, from us being in the studio the next night, and then the next week I'm in LA with her for the whole week, staying at an Airbnb, letting me crash there just so we could finish, these 3 songs that I have yet to release. But that was a very impactful moment. That little stretch in itself was super impactful for me because it showed like when you keep the right energy, like the right things will gravitate to you. Like
Yeah.
literally, right after I did that, I came back. You know, Rap Radar posted me. DJ Enough did an interview with me. Peter Rosenberg, I wound up meeting outside of a charity event I did. I was performing at Tompkins Square Park in Lower East Side, and Peter Rosenberg was walking right down the block from this Korean barbecue spot I was trying to hit up afterwards, and he wound up keeping my record on the radio for 3 months. So
Damn.
yeah, just constant like blessings like that, where it's just like, wow, like we did the record with Ari Lennox. Shortly after that, I met SZA, and she was loving my music, and me and her connected. Yeah, it's just been so many constant moments like that. Fab, Jada Kiss, um, different people that just, whether they work with me, have records with me or not, a lot of them like gave me the head nod and the salute or show love in some way where it was just like, you know, it was again affirmations. Mac Miller, um, a bunch of people, and sometimes I regret it a little bit too because it's like just people like Mac Miller. He gave me his phone number when he met me, and I never even hit him up because it was just so much of a thing. Like, damn, I'm gonna hit you up when it's the right time versus asking for something right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been blessing after blessing when it comes to that. But working with Emily was very great because, and I was actually telling my little brother this the other day, because as an artist, it's easy to get stuck and comfortable in one place that you are. You know what I'm saying? No matter what type of artist you are, whether you're a journalist, a rapper, whatever, right? It's easy to learn something in one way and continue to do it because you're most comfortable with it. But when I worked with her, I started valuing my freestyle ability even more than what I already was. I've been freestyling all my life. A lot of the records that people love from me are completely like one take records or freestyle punch in type records. But a lot of the time, since I was paying for studio time, I would go to the studio with the song already done, like premeditated.
Right, because you didn't want to
And
waste that time and that money.
exactly, you dig what I'm saying? But with M, it was just like we sat in the studio for like 3 hours just freestyling with each other, literally just going back and forth. Like, and she's, she at the time, I love her, but at the time, she like even boosting, my confidence even more because she's
Hmm.
telling me things like, yo, I've been around whole J Electronica and you really could freestyle. Like, you like, you're a top dog at this shit. And I'm like, yo, thank you. Like, I would never even go in the booth and like naturally like always do this. But since you like me and you are vibing, going back and forth, and she's like, yo, like start. She would start from that. She would start from voice memo melodies, go in the booth, lay down the whole melody, and then come back out and fill in lyrics. Or sometimes
Damn.
when her first work, we spent the whole session doing that, recording just like melodies on the mic, and then we took like a 3 day. I flew out to LA. We chilled for like 2 days, and then went to the studio like the third day with all the lyrics, and then later. And I was like, wow, that's a process. I've never was fond of that process because I'm like, damn, I can't even afford to go in there and like play around with this. I gotta already be prepared. But what it does is it allows you to tap into the emotion and the feel of the record before you even get the lyrics to it.
So, as an artist, you spoke a little bit about like shaking things up and staying out of your comfort zone. What do you do nowadays to like shake things up and make sure that you're not stagnating in the same place?
I always try to give myself new challenges, man. I think that's the important thing as an artist. And sometimes, like, I get a little bit of push from even my own teammates because they're like, "Yo, bro, you're doing too much." Or like, like even with these films we just dropped for 25A in the sex playlist, there's been record labels and people I've met with that are like, "Yo, bro, like honestly, we're living in like a single-driven society, and nobody wants to watch 6 minutes of something." And it's like, yo, like I heard Ti say something recently where he was like, if you're gonna do something different, then be the anomaly. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's been the story of this Reject Dreams thing all along. My songs come with comic books. They come with custom paintings. They come with films to tell the story. Instead of I could put out singles after singles and you'll vibe with it. But if I put out these no sleep projects, you'll understand my sound as a whole. You'll understand that I'm versatile as an artist and I have different moods and different pockets that I could go into.
Right.
You know, and I want people to understand me as an artist more than understand me as this dude who got this one record that's doing well right now.
Yeah, you're talking about how you were doing the films. Like, what was the concept, or not concept, but like, what was the thing that sparked? Like, oh shit! Like, instead of doing smaller music videos, let's like make a film instead.
It's funny. I think it was just me being like extra. Like, we started with the sex playlist joint because at the time we were like, damn, we probably not gonna have a budget to shoot all of the videos of the project. So I was like, yo, what if we just did like a commercial to introduce the project to people? You know what I'm saying? And then at the time, what happened was we decided, yo, you know what? Let's do it the more traditional way and let's push these singles off the project first to kind of walk people to the water. And then I seen that we had the sex playlist, and I'm like, yo, it's not gonna be right if we drop one for the sex playlist, drop one for 25/8. So we wind up getting back in our bag, doing the 25/8 one, and then dropping them both back to back. But the inspiration for it more so was again to introduce people to the story of who I am as an artist and show that there's many different layers. Here's some snippets, there's some sneak peeks of what's on the project to give you a reason to fully dive in and to commit to listening to a whole dual-sided EP by me. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the videos per se, like the inspiration, with the sex playlist, it was I wanted to show what a woman's day is and night is like, specifically after work, and she just wants to be appreciated by her man, and how she gets prepared for that. And then with 25/8, it was more so like, you know, the soundtrack to the hustle and the characters that are in the midst of the hustle in the concrete jungle. Everybody is a crabs in a bucket society. Everybody's trying to out finesse one another. You know what I'm saying? And the things you got to do in order to make money, and the characters that you meet in that time as well. You know.
So, with these films, what has fan reception been like?
It's been, man, it's been real breathtaking and humbling, man. Everybody has, like, there's been a lot of, great people with reaction videos. Um, a lot of great journalists writing up some really dope stuff. Taking away some of the Easter eggs we've planted in there, as well, and like just recently somebody compared it to, compared me as a director to Hype Williams, which I thought was
Damn.
really dope. Yeah, that happened like today, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, because some of my, I'm very inspired by Quentin Tarantino and the likes of great filmmakers like that. So to even be, compared to a legend like Hype, that was dope. But I'm doing this shit for like the people who are really the super fans of art and music connoisseurs and people who live in that space, because I know those people will really love it and they'll really feel like they have a home at Reject Dreams. And that's what I want to do, just as a whole, with the brand and the vision. I say all the time, like, we're building a brand for the people. With the comic books I release, with the music, with all these films, you're not only introduced to me, but you're also introduced to other rejects that I consider superheroes as well. Guys and girls.
The like when you were talking about putting the music into the film and like how it's for these different people and whatnot, and like how you enjoy the direction and being the director and curator for these projects, it kind of made me think about one of my homeboys, Trey. He's a music major. He had to do a project where he had to like rescore an entire movie, and so I was thinking, like, is that something you would be interested in? Is like being the person that is in charge of scoring a movie?
Oh yes, definitely. Definitely. 'Cause, I think, I'm into all whatever role I can play in something, whether it be creative director. I'm in most of my visuals, I'm either editing them fully or I'm co-editing with some people on my film team. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm interested in any role I can play to contribute to something great, something dope, for sure. It's funny you say that, because my one homie, independent filmmaker, asked me recently to curate like a soundtrack for him. So, that's something that I look forward to doing with him. But just in general, like when I see dudes like Hove, like curating NFL's like halftime show and stuff like that, I'm like, yo, yes, that's great, because it allows you to put your fingerprints on things other than what you've created, and it allows you to show love to other artists. And I want to be, Reject Dreams is the new age Marvel, I would say, and I want to be the Stan Lee of this shit for hip hop.
Damn.
You get into a lot of like creative bags, as in like filmmaking, editing, and such. I want to know like what pulls you into all of these interests.
Yo, it was crazy. If you would have asked me like 10 years ago if I would have been doing this, probably would have said no. Like when I first looked at Final Cut or Premiere, some of these programs, they look like science, like rocket science. That was and seriously, bro. But I feel like, with certain things in life, you train yourself your whole life, but you don't even know it. Like growing up, I was a huge movie buff. Like I am really the Netflix and chill guy. For when I would tell girls like, "Yo, come through to the crib, like let's chill." Like, yeah, we could go out, but I'm more of a movie guy. Like I'll throw on Pulp Fiction. I've probably seen that movie over 1,000 times. I'm big into like different directors and different, great actors, and um and just things like that, different films and stuff. And me being a movie buff served as source material for me to be the person I am today, directing and editing stuff. You know what I'm saying? And with art specifically, my mom and father were both visual artists, and actually my whole father's side of the family all could paint, illustrate, draw. And growing up, I would always be tight. I'd be like, damn, I only could draw some fucking stick figures. I'd be glad. You know what I'm saying? Like, little sister's good, aunt's good, uncle. I'm like, damn, what's happening here? But I always loved it. My grandmother would bring me to museums, galleries. I, loved the Monets, the Picassos. Really loved the story behind a lot of artists too. Um, Dali. List goes on. But eventually, when I started putting out music, I started building this team, a family of rejects. I said, yo, what's a way that I could showcase my material, but also coincided with my guys and gals that are doing great things. And I threw the first show I threw about 6 years ago. It was a gallery show called The Reject Experience. And pretty much I took like a project I was working at the time called Dark Matter, or I was about to release, I believe. And I pretty much like themed the whole gallery event based on that. And I got like some female photographers to show some work. My homie who had a clothing brand showed his new line of clothing. I had animators show illustrations, some paintings, different things like that. And that was just kind of like, it was, again, I believe in like work and just like fearlessness. Like the minute you tell yourself, like the minute you think it, you can do it. So if you can project that thought outward, if you project that thought in your mind, you can create it outward. So I thought about it, I did it. It was just the first step. I didn't think, oh, yo, your name is gonna be Arts, and yo, like every record you drop is gonna come with a piece of art. I didn't think about that. And I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna be doing my own videos, and it's so much more doper to talk to people a part of all these different facets of my creation. It was just something that just kind of came along with it. Like I did that, and then a few years after, I doing more and more art shows, and I'm like, yo, what if like I mix both of them, and they came cohesively, and it just happened like that. And then people were like, yo, that's dope. You got your own comic book. Yo, you did your own painting. Yo, that video's fire. Then I'm like, okay, cool. People's jacking it, so let me keep believing.
Yo, at this point, like you've created a space for a lot of other people, and you're a lot about like giving others an opportunity to showcase their style and their art and whatnot, as well as like your own. Do you think within like I say the next 2 to 5 years, do you think you'll take like a back seat and just kind of become like the mastermind, as you said, like becoming the Stan Lee rather than being the superheroes that are on front display?
I don't know if it would be in the next 2 to 5 years. That might be a little bit early, but maybe somewhere down the line, or I'll do both. You know, which might seem impossible for some, but I can see myself. I feel like in a lot of ways, I can see myself managing other artists or people, in some way, and I feel like in some way I do it now too. Like I facilitate a lot of things. You know, so I could definitely see that. Uh, Depending on obviously what place I am in that moment in my life. If I make a Billy this year, and the music is written, music is obviously music's my forte. So the music is world renowned, and we killing, and I could take a couple months off to run the world with maybe a painter or like another artist, a musician that I believe in, and then sure. Or if I could bring them all on tour and we could do it as a whole Reject Dreams family, that'd be dope too. Because there's a lot more that people have to see. And again, I believe that the people around me, my OGs, my mentor, Renaissance, the producer, my God Todd, the sound god, producer, engineer. I feel like list goes on with people too. Like I feel like these people are superheroes in their own right. They have genius talent that deserves to be showcased to the world. But I feel like nowadays there's so much glorification of just the artist that you don't see like Oliver's or 40's greatness all the time. Maybe I'm giving an example here, and it's probably because they choose to be more behind the scenes,
Yeah.
possibly, but it's also because the society is like, yo, we celebrate the artist, but we don't celebrate the people who's working with the artist to get them to that point. So I kind of want to shake that up because to me that that should be celebrated more. You know what I'm saying? Being able to sit there and say, "Yo, I stumbled upon this great person, and this person is nasty with it, and they're dope, and they got something to offer to the world." There was a point in time where I was a young homie that just had potential, and my OGs or my mentors or people seen something in me that I might not have fully. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it would be right if I didn't give that back and create a platform.
Kind of like spinning off of that, I remember it was like before we started the podcast, before we like ever started doing anything, we were just kind of like when I guess we met. Oh, were we just automatically friends? Nah. But like whenever me and Mike met, like one of my like biggest opinions about hip hop at the current point in time was like, what we met like 2-3 years ago, 2-3, yeah, something like that. 3, damn, you're old. Look, I'm young as fuck. But it was like this was the era of hip hop where like the unsung hero was always going to be the producer, because a lot of people would listen to music and be like, "Damn, the beat's hard as fuck," and like gave no fucks about the lyrics. They didn't care about what the artist was, who it was, but like they knew they subconsciously knew that they liked specific people's beats, and like those people weren't getting the level of recognition that I think they deserved.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, I think it happens often. It's easy though because we're living in like almost a sheep culture where it's like, yo, scrolling down my Instagram, I'm seeing this person's single, this person's video. You know what I'm saying? And the artists obviously are keeping their captions and stuff clean, so they want to do minimal tagging or mentioning stuff like that. People could read the credit, but spread love is the Brooklyn way. That's how I feel. Like you're not gonna not get anything that you do not deserve or earn. So you showing love to another person, it doesn't hurt. You know what I'm saying? Nice. And yo, this is coming from me personally. Sometimes I be frustrated because I'll show somebody the most love, and then when it's my time, and let's say I drop something, the love won't be reciprocated, and I'll be like, damn, like when it was your time, I was there. Like I'm a rapper that books other artists for performances. When I throw events, I'll book other artists, to open up or like come on stage with me. And when I don't feel that love back, I'm like, damn. I tell myself all the time, like, yo, I could close myself off and not show no love. Mm-hmm. But then I say to myself, that would be whack because that would be me altering who I am because another person, you can't expect what you would do for another person.
Right.
So at this point, to me, it's like, yo, on my recent Instagram post, one of the homies like just wrote on the comments, and he's never told me this, but he's like, yo, so much, you inspire me so much, dude, like, thank you. And I had to reply back, like, thank you for giving me my flowers while I'm here, because in today's hip hop, rappers are dying left and right, man. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate. And a lot of the time, we wait for people to climb a certain ladder of success to then tell them, like, yo, you inspire me. Thank you. I admire you. And not only the celebrities, I'm talking about your peers. You know what I'm saying? So I encourage that because at the end of the day, it's like at least you get to say your piece before you go, and show that love, man. That's what we in this for. To spread love, spread art, positivity.
I think you touched on this a little bit, but what were your expectations of your career starting off versus what they are now?
I didn't have any expectations. I was just doing it because I loved it. I felt understood when I jumped in the booth, when I laid the lyrics on the mic, when I spit, and I brought it back to my mom. She's like, "Oh, like one thing you spoke about that was real. Like I felt you on that." And it's like, damn, you telling me I could get through to my mom or like people around me more through music than I could maybe even having a regular conversation. And to me, that was therapeutic. It was giving me the opportunity to express myself. So that my expectation, yo, I just want to keep doing it. Feels good. Same reason you want to keep smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it'd be like, oh, bro, you got to have a plan B. And I was just, nah. Jump out the window.
Did you ever have a naysayer that like who sees how you're doing now and he's like, man, I was wrong, bro. I'm so sorry.
I would say there's been a couple people that be like, yo, you know, you really doing it, son. You know.
Yeah.
But the real naysayers, I know they be just like congratulating, watching, but they never, they don't want to be Jay-Z. Jay-Z's like, yo, my uncle told me I'd never be as big as, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
they don't want to, most people don't. But a lot of the times I start to not take those things personal as I get older too, because a lot of the times it's self-project. People tell you can't do something because they don't see themselves being able to, they want, so I chalk it up to that. There's people that probably told the Wright brothers that they couldn't get the plane to come off the ground and take flight, so I believe in the impossible. I got shot in my face at 17. Bullets stood in my nasal cavity. You know what I'm saying? Doctor told me he don't understand how my nasal cavity could even be strong enough to held the head. If that can happen, then I believe that I could take music that I'm creating with my teammates and connect people from all parts of the world.
And our final question before we let you go. All right, finish the sentence. In 2020, ARTZ will.
I said in 2020, ARTZ make all his reject dreams come true.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all brothers, man.
Absolutely. Yo, before we wrap up, go ahead and drop all your socials and let the people know where they can find the music. Okay,
dope. You can find me at artz.today. That's my website. Find me at ARTZ on Instagram, ARTZ ARTZ. That's my Twitter. That's my Facebook. On Spotify, I'm ARTZ in all capitals. On Tidal, Apple Music, I'm there as well. All your streaming platforms. On YouTube, you can type ARTZ in all capitals or just go to the website and everything will point you in that direction. And we're dropping a couple new singles in the next couple weeks. Miss Tandy and Miss Batista, be on the lookout for that. I'll be traveling in probably a nearby city. I'll be in Texas for South by Southwest in March. I'll also be in North Carolina and Atlanta in March and April. And I'll be posting more tour dates throughout the year as well too. So catch me in your local city.
That's a bet.
That's the habit.
Don't even feel you all in your feelings. Hold up, sorry, wait, yeah. You know I'm authentic, I keep it official. Yeah, you see it on screen, this picture on picture.